Yo, so what is good, everybody? We are back today with a brand new video, and for today's video, you've seen the controversy going around. Is Bradley Beal going to end up getting traded from Washington, as he did just have that 47-point performance against the Pelicans, where he was praying on the bench that the team would actually end up winning, and it's not looking like there's going to be winning anytime soon in Washington. And as far as trade destinations, there are only probably a couple teams that can realistically build a trade for him, and we're going to go with the Philadelphia 76ers here, where they bundle up a lot of young assets and some future assets that maybe is a stretch to get them, but hey, we'll give up Matisse Thybulle, we'll give up Tyrese Maxey, who has looked great, we'll give up Danny Green, 2 future first, and a second round pick. I don't know if that is realistically enough, but we're going to give it a try here and see what would happen if this team was actually put together. As you can see, we moved Bradley Beal to the 3 so we can have a rotation somewhat like they're running in real life, and we don't have to have a guy like Furkan Korkmaz run the 3 while Bradley Beal is at the 2. We can work with a 4-star system proficiency here, and at the end of the season, Trae Young ends up getting MVP of the entire league with 31.1 points per game, and I'm interested to see if any of our Sixers made the All-NBA teams here. Looking at the All-NBA team, we did not get on there, so we were snubbed from the All-NBA first team. But when we look at the All-NBA defensive first team, Ben did end up making it, of course. Obviously has fantastic defense. As far as the All-NBA second team and third team, I'm surprised to not see Joel Embiid's name on any of them, but it is what it is. Checking at the standings, hopefully it did not correlate. And we actually had a very good season, coming in as the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, behind only the big 3 that the Brooklyn Nets have. But I guess in a sense, Philly has their own big 3 now with Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Bradley Beal. Looking at the player stats, Beal comes in and goes off instantly, 27.3 points per game in his first season here. Joel Embiid, 22 a game, as well as 12.4 rebounds a game. And let's not forget his great defensive capabilities as well. And as in real life, Tobias Harris having a pretty good season there, 19 a game. Ben not doing too much scoring, but almost averaging a triple-double. Our bench is not looking all that bad because we still have Shake Milton, who of course can swap in as we just did here, and pretty interchangeable with Seth Curry depending on what they need in their starting lineup. Both players are very suitable. First round matchup here up against a tough Miami Heat team, one that maybe was a 7 or 8 seed just because of the COVID and all the games that they missed, because that's one thing that is going to probably bother the Heat in real life. They're having a really rough start here because of all their COVID and injuries early on, so they're going to have to fight back, and it'll be hard for them not to be one of the later seeds in the playoffs if they even end up making playoffs, which I believe they should. And as you can see, we push it to a Game 7 here. Tyler Hero dropping 30 points, but we just end up coming out on top as our guys really do show up here. Joel Embiid dropping 33 and 11, and 30 piece there from Tobias as well. Gotta give him his credit when it's due. Here in Game 7, where it's really going to get gritty, back and forth, and as we hop into Simcast, we end up taking it by 39 points. Joel Embiid dropping 29 and 21 in that game, and Seth Curry dropping another 23. And that moves us on to the second round here up against the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, we have a little bit of bad blood with the Toronto Raptors because of that whole series with Kawhi. But let's see if it turns out better, and yes, sir, it does this time. As we go 5 games and end up taking it 4-1. Bradley Beal dropping a 32 piece. Tobias Harris dropping 27, and 17 and 15 there from Embiid. A low-key triple-dub there from Ben as well, putting up 14, 12, and 11 on 6 of 7 shooting, so super efficient. On the other side of the ball, Norman Powell was their leading scorer. Now this is the matchup everyone came to look for, the Eastern Conference Finals up against Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, and of course, JaVale McGee is their starting center. But hey, let's see how this one ends up turning out. And to my surprise, the easiest series we've had so far as we 4-0 sweep this Brooklyn Nets team that has obviously the big 3. 28 there from Bradley Beal, 18 and 23 there from Embiid. Absolutely hoeing JaVale McGee to say the very least. A 17 piece from Tobias, moving us into the NBA championship, where we have still not had an easy road, and it's not going to get any easier, as from the Western Conference we are going to be battling against many people's GOAT themselves in LeBron James and the LA Lakers. A really tough matchup here. In real life, the Sixers did just take a dub over them, but of course it's a little bit different when playoffs come and AD and LeBron are going crazy. So let's see how this one ends up playing out and if our Sixers can actually get an NBA championship in the first year of this trade, getting Bradley Beal. Let's hop into it and see how this one ends up going. Simulating the round here, back and forth early on. We get up 2-1, grab another game 3-1, and yes sir, you know the vibes. We are going to hop into Simcast and see just how this one plays out in real time. Let's simulate this game and see how it goes. Let's get into it. So back and forth early on. Sixers take a pretty good lead here in all honesty. And by the fourth here, it's looking like a blowout. Sixers are going to probably hold them under 100 points in all honesty. And we hop into this game. You see 117-87. So definitely a blowout here. 30 points. Huge game for the Sixers, of course. And let's hop into it and see just how this one actually is going to go. So we hop into this one with 20 seconds left on the clock. You see it's all bench players in the game at this point. You got Tony Bradley, Terrence Ferguson, Isaiah Joe. That is who they're rocking out with at this point in the game in a fourth quarter against the Lakers. And of course the Lakers have some of their reserves in as well. Jared Dudley getting some tick. And as she wrote it right here with that bucket, that's going to be all she wrote. A 119-89 point dub in Game 5 of the NBA Championship. The Philadelphia 76ers are bringing another one home to the city. It's about time. Joel Embiid, Ben. I'm very interested to see who actually ends up getting MVP here because it could realistically be Embiid, Bradley Beal, and wildcard maybe Simmons or even Tobias Harris in all honesty. So we're going to look into the box score and see just how this one actually ended up completely playing out. And it's definitely nice to see this team get an NBA championship. And of course, we're going to see if we can run it back next year and how this team would progress in another season. Joel Embiid actually not the leading scorer here, with Bradley Beal taking over in this Game 5, followed by Ben Simmons, who actually dropped 24. And to look at the Lakers side of the ball, of course, LeBron led the team, but only with 23. And would you look at that, the wild card bet with paid off, as Ben Simmons actually gets Finals MVP here, while averaging 21 throughout the finals. I guess playing against the Lakers gives him a little extra boost. But here we are in free agency, and of course, we don't have much money to work with, as you can imagine, so we're going to just have to try to get some pieces that can fill some roles off the bench for us. We pretty much have the guys that we really want, and our big rotation, our starting 7 guys in the rotation, but we need that 8, 9, and potentially even 10th guy in the rotation. We can't bring back guys like Danny Green and Dwight because we just don't have the money for it. But we actually do have the money to potentially bring in a guy like Hassan Whiteside to play the backup center position, which I would not be opposed to. Not a huge Hassan Whiteside guy by any means, but he can definitely ball a little bit. So if we could bring him in on a 1-year contract, that would be just great. And looking through some of these other names here, bring back James Ennis to Philly, I wouldn't be opposed to necessarily. This is a bench wing, kind of a vet that can get some buckets if he needs to. Looking at some of these other players, another minimum contract we can bring in is Ersan Ilyasova, another former Sixer, of course, which is always good for chemistry, bringing in a guy that already knows the system, already knows a lot of the young players, and can get along. So we're going to go ahead and bring back both of them. The point guard position is one that really is hard for me here. Backup point, there's not really any good options here, so I guess Ryan Arcidiacono. Looking at the player progressions here, Embiid actually regressing at 27 years old down to a 92. Bradley Beal going up to a 92. Ben up 2 whole overall points here at 25 years old, up to an 88. Tobias and Seth as well taking a 1-point regression, which you don't really like to see, but I'm sure we can still get it done. Shake's still chilling at a 79. Hassan Whiteside down to a 77. And Isaiah Joe going up at a whole 4 overall points here, as the young shooter is starting to get going a little bit in his career. So I might honestly look on the trade block to see if there's any way I can get a better backup point guard for us here, because I really don't like the thought of not having one, or Ryan Arcidiacono coming in at point for us. So more than likely I'm going to try and make a move to get us one. I'm not too upset with the rest of the rotation, so let's see what maybe I could get here if I bundle like Ryan Arcidiacono and like a 2nd round pick. And looking through these options, not great for the most part. Aaron Holiday maybe. Looking through these, not anything I'm loving too much. Patrick Beverley, maybe, but not the shooting. And I see the Lou Will trade, and we are going to pull the trigger on that. I think bringing Lou Will back to Philly as a bench scorer, obviously very much getting up there in age, so I could see why they wanted to dump him off. But I definitely will take that. 13 minutes a game from Lou Will is a lot better than 13 minutes a game from Ryan Arcidiacono. So let's see what we can do this year, and hopefully we can have another solid year. Luka getting MVP of the regular season here. Bradley Beal and Joel both making the All-NBA third team there, which you'd love to see. And let's check out how the standings actually went for us and how this equivalated to wins or losses. So I'm kind of interested to see how this year ended up going. Hopping into the standings, we finished as the third seed in the East. Not too bad. 54 wins, so a little bit down from last year. Bradley Beal putting up 27 yet again this year, which is huge. Embiid elevating his scoring up a little bit, almost 23 points a game, and 12 rebounds, which is obviously fantastic. Tobias, just about 18 a game, not bad. 14.4 a game for Shake, and Ben still lightly almost at a triple-double. 12 points per game, 9.5 rebounds per game, and 9.6 assists per game. So if you were rounding up, he would get a triple-double technically. But as you can see what our rotations are looking like, definitely very solid here. Liking what I'm seeing. Bench minutes from Isaiah Joe heading into the playoffs here, and we're a potential 4-star proficiency team. First round here, we're up against the Nets killer in Colin Sexton. Of course, an absolute bucket getter from that two-guard position. A guy that can give you 50 points any given night and is a scary guy to verse in the playoffs. But thankfully, we do end up actually taking it in 5. Bradley Beal dropping 30 there. And us having a very solid game despite going against someone that's a pure scorer like him, who we held to 21, which is pretty good. I'm assuming Ben probably clamped them up. And Isaiah Joe stepping into his own, 6 for 8 from 3, doing his thing. Second round here, we're up against the Charlotte Hornets. Of course, they added John Collins as well, which definitely makes them a little bit deeper. Makes them maybe a wild card team here that could maybe a surprise upset. We ultimately end up taking it in 6, thankfully, though, which I'm obviously happy about. John Collins dropping 23 there. Gordon Hayward dropping another 21. LaMelo was 16, but at the end of the day, we did get it done. Philadelphia 76ers definitely did step up for us, and let's check out what our Sixers actually did in this game as well. You see Bradley Beal and Joel having fantastic games, and another triple-double there from Ben. Eastern Conference Finals, finding ourselves up against the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young, Bojan Bogdanovic, DeAndre Hunter, and Danilo Gallinari. So let's see how this one ends up playing out. And yes, sir, a 4-0 sweep. Our easiest dub so far. Back-to-back years, we get a 4-0 sweep in the Eastern Conference Finals, which is not easy to do. And our road's not going to get all that much easier as we're running into a regular season MVP here in Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. Definitely a tough team to verse in the championship, but let's see how this one ends up going. We're going to hop into it. You see Trae Young dropped 36 there in that loss, which definitely great play by him to say the very least. 22 from DeAndre Hunter. Pretty solid games from Big O and Clint as well. No one really stood out all that much on our side of the ball, but we did get it done. So let's hop into the finals here and see what is going on. A Mavericks team that's looking a little interesting, adding Montrezl Harrell at their big position. And it's a pretty back and forth one early on. We find ourselves up one game on them here, 3-2. Big game here if they're going to push it to a game 7 or if we're going to take it all in this game 6. As you can see, it's looking like we're going to take it up 128-111. And as we hop into the game, it's ultimately 130-115 with, of course, our bench in Kent Bazemore kind of just dribbling the ball out. So back-to-back years, Philly wins the NBA championship here in a world where they are able to kind of finesse Bradley Beal for 3 of their younger players and some future assets, which, how realistic is that? I'm not sure. But it was definitely a fun video to see just how this team would actually go. And look at that, Ben's growing out his hair apparently. Looking at the box score here from that one, 29, 7, and 6 from Luka on great shooting, 11 for 18, a 25 piece there from Porzingis. Bradley Beal dropping 35, and Joel dropping 20, a triple dub from Ben with Joel getting Finals MVP. If you guys made it this far throughout the video, I do appreciate you guys being out.